As consumers, we can be a little crazy. There's lots of differences between us and why we make the decisions that we make when it comes to making purchases or loving or hating a brand, and the perceptions that we have of maybe different businesses or organizations. But one thing is for sure, as a marketer, it's our responsibility to make sure that we understand the mind of the buyer. And we do that through understanding consumer behavior by researching and watching consumers and getting to understand what makes them tick. So this particular video is designed to help you understand why we are working on a consumer behavior research project for this semester and what's expected of you and what you need to know to be successful. So take a couple of minutes to watch what I have presented for you. The Consumer Behavior Project is the signature project for this course. You will be completing a consumer behavior research study based on a consumer behavior phenomenon that you're interested in. So we're going to take a couple minutes to introduce you to how this project will work. So first of all, why are we doing this project? The reason why we're doing it is that consumer behavior drives the what, the how, and the why people make decisions regarding purchases and perception, and particularly brand and product perception. And it's really important for you as a marketer to understand how we go about gathering this information. So great marketing comes from understanding the mind of the buyer, the mind of the consumer. And once we understand that, we then develop great strategies to try to influence them into making a decision. But before we do that, developing a great strategy has to start with a really good, solid foundation, and that's done through market research. So let's take a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about what you can expect from the projects. Here's what you're going to do. There's 6 things. The first thing is you're going to identify a marketing problem that a business, an industry, or maybe society has. So a marketing problem we'll talk about in just a little bit here. I'll give you some examples. Secondly, once you have that problem, you're going to evaluate it based on consumer behavior theory. So we're not just going to pick a willy-nilly problem that a business has. It has to be aligned to a consumer behavior concept that we will be studying through the course. And we'll be doing some brainstorming to get your juices thinking about some different ideas there. Once you have a problem and you have a theory that you're interested in researching, we're going to conduct consumer analysis. And your analysis is the meat of the project, your research. You're going to research both secondary and primary information. Now, secondary information is information that has already been completed by someone else. Most importantly, it has to be reputable sources such as peer-reviewed academic journals, great research, market research firms that are reputable, a little bit of things that you find on the internet as well, but it needs to be sound, good, solid research. Once you do the secondary research, that will give you some idea of questions that you would want to take further and perhaps use with your own consumer analysis. And this is primary research. Primary research is research that you collect on your own. So that's the third component of the project. Once you've collected your data and you've analyzed it, you've come up with probably some great information to help you create a recommendation to solve that original problem that we talked about in step 1. You want to recommend how the firm or the company or the organization, the industry, society can solve that particular problem. So that's the nuts and bolts of what the project entails. Now you're going to wrap it up in creating a formal research paper, and then finally you are going to do a video presentation to the class, and then we will watch these videos during class and provide feedback to you from your peers, as well as a Q&A session. So that's what you're going to do. So how do you go about handling this? How are we going to crack this nut and get this done? A couple of different ways. If you're a lone wolf and you don't like working with people, you're probably not going to do very well in business. However, I understand that the circumstances here aren't great. Some of you will be remote 100%, and working in a team virtually isn't always easy. So you can work on this project by yourself, or you could create a team. And I really do recommend working with a team, because this is a significant amount of work that you're going to be doing, and it will just be easier for you to be able to chunk up the work and delegate it to different team members. So groups, I think, of 2 or 3 are probably the best. However, you can go up to 4 people on a team if you prefer. Anything more than 4 is too much and too difficult to navigate schedules and things like that, and divvying up the work. So if you are going to work as a team, keep in mind that you will receive a team grade. Everyone who participates on that team or in that group will receive the same grade for all of the projects aligned to that. The first thing you're going to do is complete the topic assignment, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then finally, I'll set up teams in Canvas, and your teams will also, if you're working on a team instead of an individual, I will be assigning some group feedback to make sure that everyone is participating, because by no means will we have any freeloaders in this class. If you're a freeloader, you're going to fail the class. So make sure that you're participating on your team if you choose to work in a team. All right, now let's go through those 6 steps that I talked about. First of all is defining a problem. Behavioral, we're looking for consumer behavioral phenomena that influences consumer behavior and decision making. So what do I mean by that? What is a behavioral problem? So let's take an example here. All right, I've got if you know anything about me, you know you're generally gonna see me, I'm gonna either have 2 things in my hand. I don't know how it's gonna work when I'm wearing the shield in front of y'all, but we'll figure it out. Generally, I either have a Starbucks with me or a Coke Zero. So let's talk about this. So I'm a consumer, and you might wonder, why on earth does she drink a hot coffee with a straw? Yeah, I said, remember in the beginning, I said how consumers are weird? I'm a weird consumer. I drink hot coffee with a straw so I don't smudge my lipstick. Yes, that sounds very vain, I get that, but that's exactly why. The other thing is that I'm kind of a klutzy person, and if I drink the coffee, it's gonna spill all over my shirt. So I prefer to drink my coffee with a straw. Well, there's lots of business issues with this, right? One business is we don't like to use straws anymore because it hurts seals and it's not good for the environment. So Starbucks doesn't necessarily like to give me a straw, but I still want one as a consumer. So there's a lot of different business problems here related to my consumption of this coffee. So if I am a straw drinking lady, hot coffee lady like I am, maybe the business problem for Starbucks is, how do I accommodate her needs if I take the straw away? So that would be a business problem. So that's a business problem, is to keep Christy drinking coffee if I take her straw away. The marketing problem is the potential impact on the business. So if I take the straw away, and that's a product decision, what do I need to understand about Dr. G's consumption of coffee to solve that problem? So that's the potential impact on the business. Perhaps I'm no longer going to go to Starbucks. Perhaps I'm going to have to start bringing my own straw with me. But we want to look at all those different elements. The next thing we do is a research question designed to explore the phenomena. So a question has to be specific enough to measure through research. So maybe, and it also needs to provide insight to the business so you can make a marketing recommendation to solve the problem. So I want you to brainstorm a little bit about our business problem here is that we no longer want to offer straws with our hot coffee. So think about some of the things or questions you might want to ask Dr. G, the consumer of the coffee. And that would be a research question that you would then work through. The next thing that we do is once you have your research question, investigate the problem through research. So my research question might be, what will happen if we take the straws away? That's a good consumer behavior question. What's going to happen? So you're going to conduct a literature review. We talked about that. That's your secondary. That's examining the particular behavior through research that has been done in the past. You're going to document the phenomenon as you're researching, the when, the why, the hows, the what's, the theoretical ideas, and models or frameworks that people have done in the past to help explain the behavior. Then I want you to identify social, cultural, other environmental influences that also we need to know as a marketer to explain the behavior. And what I want you to do then is do primary research, ask some questions so that the result then of what you're gathering you'll be able to create a recommendation. So the primary research, again, is using one or more methodologies that we will talk about in depth. That could be interviews, focus groups, a survey, experiments. We will talk in depth about different types of marketing research that you can use to investigate your phenomena. Then I want you to develop testable hypotheses based on your research question. Your hypothesis could be, Christy will no longer go to Starbucks if they do not offer her a straw any longer. Then you're going to prove out, is that true or false? Or it could be, Christy may start drinking cold coffee because she can get a straw with the cold coffee. So those are different types of research questions that you can answer. Then we're going to obtain information from real consumers. You're going to go out, you might talk to people, you might do a survey, and then once you've done that, the last part of the primary research is to collect it, organize the data, code it, run some analysis, and then finally have enough information to make a recommendation. And that's where we get to the analyzing the data and exploring the findings. Once you've collected the information, I want you to tie it back to that consumer behavior phenomena and the research question so that you can inform a marketing recommendation. Now, for this particular project, you're going to have to find at least one significant finding about the phenomena through your primary research. And that shouldn't be very hard to do. Finally, creating that recommendation for the business. So you're going to go back to Starbucks. You're going to tell them everything that you've learned. You're going to recommend, what do we do if you take the straws away? Or maybe you recommend to them, don't ever take the straws away because you're going to lose a bunch of consumers, and you're going to tell us about those consumers. So that's the final thing, is making that recommendation. So that's it in a nutshell of the 6 things that you're going to do. There's deliverables. The first deliverable is a project topic assignment, and you can find this assignment in Canvas. It's a simple survey. Once we've done some brainstorming in class, you can use this survey to tell me what your research problem is, the question, the phenomenon you're looking at, who you're working with, so that I have an idea of who's working on what. The final deliverable is due on the final exam day. And that's a written paper. And that written paper will include a number of components. It will include an introduction, a review of your secondary information and the insights and theories about the phenomenon that you have learned from what has been researched in the past, your description of how your methodology of how you go about collecting your data, and you're going to analyze the data, talk about what you've learned, and then finally the actionable marketing recommendation based on your insights. Then you're going to tell me a little bit about what we call limitations. The limitations are those things that you could have done differently in your research. A concluding paragraph, and then finally an appendix. Now this written paper needs to be completed in APA format. You need to cite your sources. Whenever you talk about a claim that you haven't found in your own research, you need to cite the source of that. So make sure that you're looking at the APA standards and writing that. The written paper is a maximum of 12 pages, and I have outlined for you in the project instructions where you can, or how many pages or paragraphs per area. So that's the written project. Again, you can go into Canvas. I have a PDF of the instructions and details, download it, look at it, and then follow those very prescriptively. The deliverable on the presentation is you're going to take those, again, those 5 buckets, you're going to explain them to us and present them to us in a video format that you or your team will put together. Now, what I want you there's 6 areas. You're going to do the introduction, a quick introduction of the theory that you found, a description of your research, how you conducted it, what you've learned, and then your marketing recommendation based on the consumer behavior phenomena, and finally a summary. This should be no more than 15 minutes, and then we will have about 5 or 10 minutes of Q&A for each video, and this will be done during class time. So how is this going to be graded? The grading is 25 points for your topic proposal. The meat of the assignment is the formal research paper, and that's 125 points. The video presentation will be 25, and then you personally will be graded on the way you evaluate your peers. You will evaluate 5 peers and their videos and their presentations, and that will be a total of 25 points. So overall, this is around 30% of your overall grade for the course. So it's pretty important. I mentioned before there's formal instructions. If you go into Canvas, you have a module called Semester Project Information. Click into the page. It will give you everything that you need to know. This video will be in there. There's a formal PDF of everything that you need to do, and I will have a slide deck in there as well walking you through. And also some other information that might be helpful to you as you navigate the information. So this might feel very daunting, but know that we will spend some class time going through this project again, and we're going to be doing some group brainstorming of ideas. I have a ton of ideas. I can share things that have been researched in past classes, and most importantly, just working in small groups of people and brainstorming. I will come up with a whole list of all these ideas, and then you can choose which phenomena you're interested in researching for the semester. So that's a wrap. The semester project will be fun. It will be interesting. I suggest that you think about teaming up with somebody, because it can be a lot of work. But I'm really excited for you to start thinking about some really great consumer behavior topics for you to research for the project.
Oh!